Aloha. Happy morning, and happy morning, mics. Happy morning, masturbation. I think that's all it really is, right? It's sort of verbal masturbation as I walk along the beach here. Although maybe I should be a lot more verbal when I masturbate. Anyway, good day, and good morning from Pattaya, Thailand again. One of the things, I don't know if you guys do this, and I'm curious if you do. And if you don't, then I'll just put the straitjacket back on and go back to the room with the cool rubber walls. But, do you, when you're somewhere, different than your norm? Because I think a lot of us do the whole, get up in the morning, get dressed, go to work, do work, whether we like it or not. Hopefully you do. Come home, have dinner, either alone or with others. And then go to sleep and kind of do it all over again for traditionally 5 days in a row. So when you go somewhere different, for most of us, I think that's what we call on vacation. Do you sit there and you think to yourself, God, I wish I could do this all the time? Okay, now, I would submit we do. You do. I do. And I've done it a lot more lately, and I think it probably started about maybe 10 years ago when I went to Maui for the first time, right? So I'm like, oh my God, this is paradise. I want to stay here. You know, yeah, right, of course. I would also like to win the lottery. I mean, I suppose that would be good. Although emotionally, I suppose I've already won that. So now it's just a thing. But here's the reason I bring all this up. Is do you ever say to yourself, oh, I'm gonna, in other words, I'm going to move to Maui, or I'm going to move to Thailand, when I get all of these things that perfectly line up. And I'm not saying that, you know, it's silly or anything like that, but I'm just kind of curious whether you do that, because this is now my 5th, 6th trip to Thailand, something like that. And every time I leave, and I'm not leaving yet, I'm not even halfway through my vacation, technically. Every time I'm getting ready to leave, it's harder to leave. And there's that old, you know, silly song, I Left My Heart in San Francisco, right? And so I don't know. And one of the things that I actually was thinking about this yesterday, and I think I brought it up in my video, is when I was life coaching a lot more. We would go through this exercise of the when I's, right? So in other words, when everything lines up and all the stars are perfect and I have everything good, then I'm going to, you know, do this one thing, this one dream, or this one commitment. I'm going to finally go through with it. So I've never had children, never been married, no kids. And so I often wonder what percentage of people that have kids, you could ask them, well, when did you have this kid? Well, first of all, what we did is we lined everything up perfectly. We got the correct amount of cars. We had the right amount of money in savings, and I had several life insurance policies set up. Checked in with my parents, made sure that the room was perfect, paid off our house, or whatever the check boxes were, right? I mean, and as I sort of describe some of these, obviously some of them seem a little bit silly, because I can't imagine anyone in Southern California has been like, yeah, so when we pay off our house, then we're going to do the next, yeah, right, no. When we make the next mortgage payment, then we're going to do the next thing. The next indicated right thing. I need a selfie stick, either that or I need bigger biceps, because this 2-ounce phone is just, I'm not really going for reps, I'm going more for bulk. Anyway, so I'm just wondering if you do that, because I think that it's real easy to, you know, you surround yourself with awesome, which is I think what a lot of us do when we're on vacation, and you do that, and then, you know, it's real easy to say, oh God, I wish I could do this for the rest of my life. I wish I could sip martinis, or what is it, those things called? The umbrella drinks. I don't know what they're called. Anyway, on the beach in Maui for the rest of my life. One of the things that interested me the most about Thailand when I first came here, and the reason why I thought, oh God, I wish I could stay here for the rest of my life, is this one phrase that my buddy uses. No, he's not my buddy, I'm sorry. This one guy that I follow on YouTube, JC, with his channel of retirecheap.asia, or that's his website. His channel is Retire Cheap Asia. Here's the phrase I love the best. more life for less money. And because, you know, again, it's like, I think people say, well, I want to win the lottery because they want to have a certain amount of money, potentially an excessive amount of money, such that they don't need to work, right? They have so much money in savings, or they have so much revenue that they no longer need to work, right? And so I think all of us would agree, okay, so let's say, and not all of us, let me submit that if you are living in the United States, in a city that I'm familiar with, and as I stated yesterday, I think for the most part, the only really subscribers I have are just my friends, which is great. That's cool. Because I don't have any haters, hopefully. So we say, okay, let's say for the sake of argument, I win $10 million in the lottery, right? And even if I like my job a whole freaking lot, I'd probably quit. And I don't know what I do. I think a lot of people say, oh yeah, and I travel and I do this and I donate to my favorite charity more than I do now, time, talent, and treasure. And I think for a lot of us, I'll just speak for myself, but I think right now, as far as charitable contributions go, I think for a lot of us, it's probably a little bit easier to give time and talent than it is excessive treasure, unless you're one of my very, very affluent friends who actually has the ability to do all three. Meaning that the treasure that they give is in the millions, you know, huge donations and things like that. And I've got a couple of friends like that, and it's just a relative amount, right? From my perspective, if I hear that one of my colleagues or whatever is donating $1 million cash to an organization or something, I think, oh my God, that's a lot of money. So anyway, so go back to sort of the relativity of why, when you would stop working, or back to the, okay, when I win the lottery, I will do this. Which I think statistically is the equivalent of saying, when I get struck by lightning, I will. I'm not quite sure. I've been told that, I haven't checked this out, but I think I recall someone saying, or me hearing, that the statistical probability of me being able to stutter while walking on the beach in the morning after only one cup of coffee. The statistical probability of winning the lottery is equivalent to the statistical probability of getting struck by lightning, which is probably equal in number to the statistical probability of getting a lower back massage from me. Except you, and you know who you are. Honey. So anyway, so that's what I was thinking about this morning. I was thinking about, okay, how many of these like when I's do I have? How many of these like lists do I have in my mind, or maybe even written down? Or some people do the whole, the exercise of, what is it, vision boarding, or what, I can't remember exactly what that's called by others. But anyway, again, the phrase I really love that this guy had come up with, which is more life for less money. Oh, and then the other one I love too, and I actually had heard that before. I had watched his videos, which is more month at the end of the money, right? Versus more money at the end of the month. I.e. you run out faster. And that's kind of cute, but there's some truth to it, right? So I wonder how many of those I have in my life. And then back to the relativity of that statement, I've had conversations with people here in Thailand and then recently in the Philippines, where in both countries the daily wage, or I suppose the daily minimum wage, let's go for the daily minimum wage. I believe in here in Thailand it's around 300 baht, which is approximately $9. And in the Philippines it's about 300 pesos, which is about $8. So from their perspective, let's say I tell them, you know, that, for the sake of argument, let's say I make $100,000 a year. And I say, okay, so in your country that's 35 million baht, or almost now 50 million pesos a year. And I had this one person I was talking to when I was first in the Philippines. I was there like, oh God, it was only like the third or fourth day there. And they just looked at me and they said, why do you work, right? Because I think, again, relative to us, if I meet someone in Southern California, and for whatever reason we start talking about salary or job, career, and they say, yeah, I make about, $12, $13 million a year. I could easily respond and say, dude, what the fuck are you waiting for? Like, why are you still working, right? So it's all relative. So what does life cost? What is the quality of life, in air quotes, that you think is appropriate? And, I just thought of something. And do you do the exercise occasionally or regularly of saying, this is how much I need to live to be happy? God, I forgot their website, but there's this couple who's been, they call themselves, I think, financially free. If you're supposed to put a label on it, a lot of us would label it as being retired. But they do kind of what they love, in the sense that they vlog they blog mainly. They don't actually do videos, but and God, it's just so horrible. Their name escapes me, but I will put their website down in the link. I will put their link down in the description section for their website, because it's a really interesting exercise. And you know what I really appreciated about them? Because, I don't know about you guys, but, you see these videos that are like, I made all this money and then I retired and I was able to do this, and don't you want freedom and all, but there's never any discussion about money, and it always seems like that's a pain point for some people. It's like, I want to tell you that I made millions doing this one thing. But it seems like very people are either shy to, or they get offended when you ask them, well, how much money was that? How much actual cash were you generating in revenue every year that you lived on that made it so you could do whatever? So that I believe you that when you say I can buy real estate with no money down, but only $99 for the course, I'm willing to give you that cash because I believe what you're telling me. Will you tell me what your annual income was? Anyway, and the reason I bring that up is because this couple, I sent them an email and I even prefaced it with like, look, I know this is a tough subject, or not tough, but uncomfortable subject for a lot of people, especially in the US. It's like unattractive to ask someone or a couple or whatever, how much money did you make last year? It seems like it's totally okay to say, well, how much did you pay for that house? Provided you preface it with something like, if you don't mind me asking. I love if you don't mind me asking, and then you ask before, of course, they respond. I also love with all due respect, which of course I would think 99.9% of the people use that phrase, and I really try not to because I think it's bullshit. They use that phrase right before they're going to say something that basically indicates they have no respect for you. With all due respect, I really think that you don't have enough knowledge of that, when in fact you're thinking in your brain, this friggin' guy's an idiot. But let me preface it with all due respect. All right, I'm all over the place. Just wait till I get caffeine, baby. Mokona 3-in-1 sticks. Changed my life. Anyway, so like, what's that number? And so I emailed them and I said, hey, it's a difficult subject for some people, but like, it would really be helpful for me to know like what the number was when you said, okay, I have enough money in the bank and I can earn enough interest on it such that I can live off of that interest and potentially not touch the principal, or ideally have the principal continue to grow, even though I take disbursements from it every month, every year. And they were like, we had about $500,000. Now, for whatever reason, that's not a round enough number to $1 million that I'm used to. If someone had said, well, I have $1 million in the bank, and so therefore I've decided to, quote unquote, retire, meaning I've decided to leave the current job that I'm in, and I'm going to go and basically just live my life without worrying about generating a salary or having a salary. So they were like, yeah, $500,000, and they've been traveling and they've been living off of their investments for, I want to say 30 years now. And even through, I think, what is it, 2? Well, certainly there was the global economic crisis, or whatever, global financial crisis that we caused. You're welcome, you're welcome, globe. And so they had that $500,000, and through all of these different, various financial debacles that occurred globally, they're still up in the sense that the principal is still larger. And I was speaking with a mentor of mine, someone I respect a great deal. He is 79 right now. And I said, hey, so when you retired, like how much did you have, you know? And so he said, well, I had this amount, this certain number, and it's not, let's say it was $1 million. Let's say it's sake of it's $1 million. I have $1 million, and I've been living off of that basically for the last 20 years. And I take out an amount such that I now have still that principal plus a little more. And so, okay, so I get that amount of I get that corroborating amount of data from two sources, right? Sample size of 2, whatever. For my statistics class, if I don't have n equals 30 or larger, then of course this isn't statistically significant. But it was enough to make me think, hey, this scenario seems to work. Have X amount in the bank, provided that X number is such that you're not depleting it faster than it is returning something in, giving you a return such that it's covering your annual expenses. So anyway, so I was just thinking about that this morning. I'm like, what's it going to take? What is enough? Pardon me. And what is, when am I going to stop? Because I can tell you right now, if I were 20 and I made the statement, okay, I'm going to retire, a lot of people would be like, dude, how much money do you have? Do you have enough money to live off of? I am in my 40s, late 40s. I'm in my late 40s, meaning I'm older than 41. It's later than 40. And if I say, well, I'm going to retire at 50, people are like, okay, I mean, I kind of get that, but I think it's your fantasy. If I'm going to say, well, I'm going to retire at 60, people will be like, yeah, that makes sense, but then, of course, they would probably give their own opinion on Social Security. And, well, wait till you're 62 and a half, or if I'm 69, and I'm coming up on my 70th birthday, and I make the statement, yeah, I'm going to retire next year, pardon me, I'm going to retire next year on my birthday, people are like, yeah, that makes sense. We agree with that. That's a social norm. We're willing to support that. But, if I make the statement, okay, well, I'm going to retire when I'm 50, some people say, yeah, totally, dude. It's a great idea. One of the best pieces of advice my dad ever gave me was don't wait till you get old to retire. And I know what he meant by that. I think I've shared that in another video, actually. So that's true, I guess. I believe it's true. So I then think to myself, okay, so, sans the social norms, what works for me? And what am I going to do when So when I get X amount of money in the bank, then I'll be comfortable to retire. Or when I find the correct life for a certain budget, then I'll be able to retire. So I don't know, dude. It's just something that I wanted to share, and something that I was thinking about this morning. And I have no idea whether this adds value to your life. I humbly hope it does. And if not, the cool thing is you can pause this or shut it off or delete it, or I don't know. I mean, I guess it shows up as a reminder email in your inbox or something like that. So you can delete that. Or maybe you could comment on it and give me and others who are, following this thing. I think I have like 55 subscribers now, which I don't know, dude. That's just amazing to me. I don't know. It's just really rad. But, the fantasy of getting 55 comments about like, well, no, here's my theory, Mike. I'm planning on doing this when and I guess here's the big thing for me. I bring this up, meaning I'm going to do X when I finally achieve this, is because I'm identifying behavior in myself that seems to hold me back. And it's almost an excuse. Because I can tell you right now, if I waited for all the stars to line up before I got sober, yeah. Well, considering this CPU that caused me to be an alcoholic was also the one I was using to try and figure out a solution to not be one, that I was doomed. So I wouldn't have been able to come up with the correct scenario anyway. All right, so that's my morning, Mikes, and I hope you enjoyed it. And if you didn't, I'd actually really like to know. I'm a member of a professional users group, and one of the things that I always say after we have a meeting, and I will say here, which is if you like this, please tell somebody else. If you thought it sucked, please tell me, because then I can change it. Or I can delete it, or I can blow off this channel, or I can stop friggin' doing this, and I can just talk to myself, which I suppose is part of what I'm doing right now. Anyway, so selfishly, I'd like your input. Because I would like to hear solutions to the getting past the, I can't do that now, but when I have whatever, then I can do it. Then I can do it. So let me know. And until then, I gotta tell you, I hope you're living the dream. I'm living the dream. If you're not living the dream, I think you're doing it wrong. That's just Mike's opinion. Love you guys. Ciao.